Hello, Bearspaw. Bob Jennings here, Bearspaw Board Director and on the Clubhouse Committee as well. I'm joined today with Cael Tucker. Thanks, Cael.
Thanks, Bob.
So we're going to do an update for the Bearspaw membership. Cael, we're standing in the new clubhouse and things are really progressing since our last update 2 weeks ago. Why don't you touch on a couple of main things that we've progressed? Talk about the roof perhaps and some of the work that's going on in the basement.
Sure. So since the last dashboard, we've had a lot of the T&G on the flat portions of the timber frame. What that allows us to do is get the next portion of the wood trusses installed. The crane's actually coming on Monday to get the next portion that is going to see us approach the pro shop, and then of course cover over top of the kitchen and administration area, which will make up about 80% of the wood trusses being installed, which will be great for the project and making sure that we're hitting our targets toward the end of September to have the roof on and the building proper enclosed.
Yeah, that's awesome. And now in the basement, a fair amount of mechanical and electrical work have been done, and I see the stairs are now partially installed as well.
Right. So we have our 4 metal stairs for the inside of the clubhouse. They will be completed towards Monday, Tuesday next week. And with that, as I previously mentioned, that's really going to help in terms of construction egress inside of the clubhouse as we get into the third quarter and the fall portion, winter of 2017, for segregating different divisions to be able to chase each other around the job site, which really helps with efficiency and to gain some of those schedule days back that we lost over the last year, really.
Right, so you'll be able to zone off specific areas and allow the trades to work in conjunction with each other.
You got it.
Awesome. Now I also see that we're preparing to pour the floor for the halfway house and then the slab in front of the halfway house as well.
Correct. The pour is actually happening tomorrow afternoon for the halfway house proper, and what that allows is finally the last portion of the timbers for the clubhouse, the Zone 2 timbers, are going to be installed, and from there you'll see the rest of the coffer T&G be applied to that peak point, and that's going to let us get the rest of the wood framing and the tie-ins into the main clubhouse completed as well. Another exciting thing happening, maybe not so exciting, but we're terminating the zones for the septic on the driving range this evening, and that's going to give, as I mentioned before, an opportunity for the driving range to dry up, and we'll be able to remove those zones, and it's going to minimize potential risk with some dewatering and saturated points on the driving range.
Yeah, it's a good point, Cael. So the range will actually be closed for the season on Tuesday, August 22nd. Now, we're going to have aeration starting on Sunday, August 20th. That will continue all day on the Monday, August 21st. The range will be fully open on the 21st. So August 21st is the last day of the range. And the range will be closed for quite some time. It won't be open again until July of the following year. Now, with respect to the clubhouse, there's an awful lot of framing going on downstairs. Like I see the lockers are pretty well detailed. The admin area upstairs is coming on quite nicely, the kitchen area.
Yeah, correct. So we're through our primary, as I mentioned before, in the basement area for sure. What's left down there, you'll see the locker rooms are all framed in. We have a little bit of back framing to establish once we get communications and final electrical raceways, mechanical raceways, a few bulkheads. We call that back framing, some bridging, blocking in areas that we think as we get in through preparing for the finishes in the lower level. And upstairs as well, Bob, in through the kitchen and a lot of the washroom areas off at the pro shop, as approaching the pro shop. A lot of those areas are getting finalized, and it gives us an opportunity to make sure our termination points right down to the rolling racks are where they need to be.
Yeah, fantastic. So on the outside, the stonework's pretty well completed over here on the west side of the building. Still have more stone to do on the east side, northeast side as well.
Correct, and as we wrap around on the northeast side, with that, we're trying to maximize and again be efficient with our earthworks. So as we approach it towards the course being shut down after Thanksgiving, we want to get the bulk of that out of the way. Giving those termination points for the stone right now is a happy surprise, and it lets stone continue the march around the clubhouse, and then earthworks come up to the termination points on the stone. So again, that helps schedule in terms of being able to establish exactly where grade is, the termination of the stone, and then of course our cart pathways and our walkways around the side of the building.
So the training center will be pouring a slab fairly soon. We're getting ready for that, I see.
We are, yeah, that's definitely going to happen. That's hot on the heels. And again, we went through a slight change on the mechanical slab. And what the mechanical slab is just behind us outside of the event space here. That's where all the mechanical equipment that services the clubhouse lives. And we went through great work by SMP, Morkwood, ISL, and McKinley Burkhardt, our architect. And we came up with, I think, is the best long-term function plan for the service of the clubhouse, with creating a larger pad there and a better opportunity for service and long-term functionality of the equipment.
Right, fantastic. Now we still got some heavy timbers to install over on the halfway house, and a few heavy timbers for the performance center as well.
Correct. As I mentioned before, Zone 2 makes up the primary timbers for the clubhouse. There's a couple of tails that will have to come in with some of our back framing as we get into closing in some of our gables and gussets on the clubhouse. And then there is 4 column timbers to be installed around the training center that really hold up the support for the roof as it comes off of the entrance of the training center.
Right. Another interesting completion will be tomorrow. We're going to actually energize the 3-phase power.
Correct, yeah. So NMAX was out today to do their finals, and what that creates is that we have, with the 3-phase power, we got a lot of power for the duration of the construction, and again, that the 3-phase is really going to be a long-term benefit to the clubhouse as you guys grow and bring on new members.
Yeah, fantastic. So from a schedule perspective, you mentioned that you're going to hopefully be closed in by the end of September. We're still targeting for early April to be completed the structure in its entirety, but a lot of the landscaping will not be done at that point.
Correct, and that's just in terms of not being too disruptive to operations proper of the guests and wanting to golf as we approach the entranceway. So we're going to get a lot of our rough grading, our earthworks done this fall, and as we get into the spring, there will be past the unveiling, if you will, on the clubhouse, that we get into the final plantings and trees and some of that stuff around the new plans for the golf course.
Right. So the enclosure would include the roof as well. Now I've heard a couple of members say, wait a minute, we have roof on the ceiling or on the outside. Is that going to be covered? Why don't you take a moment to explain the way the roofing envelope actually works?
Sure. So when you see the TNG, what we're talking about.
TNG as in tongue and groove?
Tongue and groove. That's a finish element, and it's on the interior of the building. It's the whitewash element. It's a finish element. It also compiles a lot of the fire code rating that we need to achieve to satisfy the MD and safe work and safe function practice. So what that is, it's a finish element, and on top of that, on everywhere you see it in the building, there's 2 layers of our insulation, and then our girts, and then the metal roof ring on top of that. And that entire assembly makes up our roof proper, where you have the finished component on the inside, and then the metal is what you see on the outside for the roof assembly.
Awesome. Now that's specifically where there's exposed timber.
Correct.
Inside the building, like in the admin area in the back office, that'll be a standard drywall type of look with the standard sheeting over there.
Correct. You have drywall and you have some ceiling grid, which is your panel in your grid and some of the admin areas.
Awesome. Yeah, you'll see from the video that the work is really starting to progress quite nicely, and the finish is really fantastic when you see the tongue and groove on the ceiling above us. That's it for now. Thank you, Cael. Appreciate your time, and stay tuned for another update in 2 or 3 weeks.